Welcome back to continuing coverage of YETICON 3.0, held October 19th, 2024 in Denver, Colorado, hosted by the Rocky Mountain Yetis Old School Magic the Gathering Club. My name is Corey, and I will be bringing you another round of action. We are in round 3 today with Jeremy on your left and Tim on your right. Let's take a look at Jeremy's deck and see what Jeremy is bringing in. I see a few legends there. We've got Dick and Blackblade and, of course, Rasputin Dreamweaver. We've got some big flyers in the form of the Dragon and the Djinn. There's a personal incarnation, possibly a nod to Kev Brockschmidt, the artist who was the featured artist at the event that day. And then we have in the middle there the chili pepper there. That is the Soul Ring spicy top card from Las Vegas, I believe. So Jeremy was able to pull down a really cool Spice Award. I also see a few Anime Dead cards there on the side, so we have a little reanimation strategy, Wrath of God on the side, and of course a lot of your usual suspects. Note the King Suleiman there in the sideboard. It'll be cool to see if that comes into play here in this round. Let's go ahead and take a look at Jeremy's opponent Tim's deck. Tim has a really sweet Yawgmoth Demon build. The really nice Elves of Deep Shadow altar there was featured very prominently out on the East Coast this year. We did see a lot of those pop up, and it's beautiful to see them featured here at this event as well in Colorado. We've got some artifacts to sack to the Yawgmoth Demon. Particularly juicy would be a tapped Mana Vault that's just been used to power that thing out. So that is a huge 6/6 flying first strike. You've got a sack an artifact at the beginning of your upkeep to keep him around and untapped. If not, he gets tapped and deals 2 to you on that side. So let's see which of the big creatures from these players is going to come out on top. Could be an exciting battle, an exciting match. Let's take a look at game number 1. And for game number 1, down we go to the featured table here at Black Sky Brewing in Denver. Tim taking a mulligan on this side, and I believe that's a mulligan to 5. I'm kind of taking a look at Tim's hand. Could be a mulligan down to 5 there on Tim's side, but it looks like we're ready to roll. Jeremy on your left takes a look at an opening hand featuring a library, and there is a Soul Ring. So tapping the library and going for Soul Ring. So big mana on Jeremy's side. Tim comes back with an Elves of Deep Shadow, so a 1/1, but also a mana ramp on the board. Jeremy plays another Mana Source, that's an Underground Sea, and draws 3 from the Ancestral. Not a bad time to do that, and that would be why Jeremy chose to play out a little bit to the board in the first turn, because Jeremy knew that he was going to have that Ancestral to get him up to 7 and draw off the library. Over on Tim's side, it is a really cool signed, altered Mishra's Factory. And looks like he's coming in for 1 with the Elves of Deep, so not a big mana follow-up play there. Just going in for 1, so down to 19 goes Jeremy. Jeremy is going to play a land, draw again, and here we are, tapping big mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, I believe, could be, yeah, there it is, Uncle Shivan. 5/5 in the air with Fire Breathing, and the red mana source from the Volcanic is there, so maybe at least 1 pump. Over on Tim's side, Tim's tapping some big mana, and there is a very large Mind Twist. So Jeremy laying out a hand of 6. This will at least take Jeremy off of the library. 4 cards going down. There's a cool fireball, I think. I love the altar game that a lot of these players have. Yeah, so the Mind Twist for 4 came maybe just a turn too late there for Tim, because he's already got a 5/5 flyer on the board. Unfortunate we couldn't get that one down to get the big threat out of the hand and into the graveyard. Tim taking a look to see what he can draw with the kind of Yawgmoth build. The Triskelion is coming in, but Jeremy says, nope, that's not coming in. Counterspell on the Triskelion, so no 4/4 for you. I'm going to get in for at least 5 more. There's a Maze of Ith on Jeremy's side. Attacking in with the Shivan, and it looks like picking up a red source for a possible pump. Pump it to 1, so it takes 6. That puts Tim down to 5. And tapping 4 more. And there is the Jayemdae Tome on Jeremy's side. He's casting Demonic Tutor, and he says go as he's going to pull out his tutor target. So card advantage is back, and Tim takes a look at the draw and says, let's go ahead and pack this one in here for game one. So that's going to be it for a pretty quick game one. Both players here are going to go to the sideboards. Tim looking for answers for that big creature there, and I'm not sure that Jeremy saw too much of what Tim's plan is, so kind of some interesting sideboard choices here coming up. Let's head on over to game number two. And for game number two, Tim taking a look at his opening hand, and looks like Tim is taking a mulligan again. Tough luck there, Tim. Sorry about that. Never like to see mulligans a couple games in a row, but that is the game we play and love. Tim has a quick factory, and his follow-up is going to be the old Elves of Deep. Just love that altered artwork. Jeremy is going to play a second mana source and Time Walk. Go to the Time Walk turn, and he's going to play another mana source and a Chaos Orb. So the early Time Walk there to get another draw and get ahead on mana. Let's see if he has a Personal Incarnation in hand. So there is one big one. Tim's side, there's a Lotus and three more. Is it another big Mind Twist, or is it a big creature? It is a big Mind Twist. So whatever Jeremy's plan was, it's going to be tough for him to pull that off, especially because he does not have a double blue open. So yeah, that's everything, even the Ancestral, because that looks like a scrub land is the untapped mana source. So not even able to Ancestral in response. Everything is down. So Tim gets the very early card advantage there with the Black Lotus kind of just destroying the hand of Jeremy. And now we can actually start to go to work with the elves. There's a Suchi coming in on Tim's side. This is a mana burn format, so Suchis are a little bit more risky to play, but they also can be quite nice. And this is likely an end step flip on the Suchi. Tim's going to get 4 mana and put it into the factory, so it's not as risky if you have a mana sink like a factory. So if you're wondering where the mana burn went, that would be it. And so now we're swinging in with the factory and the Elves of Deep Shadow. Jeremy's side looks like it's just mana sources. Here's another Suchi, so not another Chaos Orb for him, and then we're swinging in with the Elves again. Down to, I think 14 is Jeremy. We have a Soul Ring on Jeremy's side. That's that Chili Pepper again. And Tim's coming in for the big swing. Here we go. Jeremy's looking at, I think, 7 life. So Tim is presenting lethal, I believe, so let's see if Jeremy can find an answer. Activating the factory. There's a disenchant for the Suchi, and you see Tim kind of point to the factory to just indicate that the mana is going into the factory to extra activate. All right, untapping is Tim. Jeremy's at 4. There's a disenchant for the factory, so Jeremy's hanging in there, ripping some answers off the top to keep him alive. He's down to 3 now. That elf has done a lot there with her beautiful bloody apron there, battlefield apron. There's a swords for the elf finally, so Tim's going to go to 21. Jeremy's down at 3. Now there's a dragon, so we are not done yet with this one. There's a 5/5 flyer on Jeremy's side. Tim's going to take 5. Let's see if Tim can find something to sneak in that last 3 damage. There is another Suchi. Well, that will certainly help. And Jeremy has used up a lot of his answers to creatures and artifacts already, a couple disenchants and a swords. So you have to wonder if Jeremy's going to be able to attack again here. He's thinking about what he wants to do. He does come in with the Shivan. So that is, he's thinking about tapping. Oh, there's a Wrath of God. So he swings in, and then Wrath of God after that, just to avoid the crackback. And Tim was looking to see about a mana sink there for Tim. He's using some for the disenchant, I believe. Take another damage from the city, and there's another disenchant. Okay, so he's getting rid of the artifacts to use up that mana. Okay, so it looks like both players at 3. This is a pretty exciting ending here to game 2. Who can drop the next threat is probably the winner here. Let's see what Tim is able to do. He is going to tap the city. He's going to go down to 2, and there is the drain life for everything. But the counterspell back on Jeremy's side keeps him in the game. Tim is rocking the drain life. I think he has 3 in the main deck. There is a Triskelion, and let's see if that sticks. It does, and that's the 3 damage he needs to go over the top. So Tim, with a clutch trike play right there at the end on game 2, is able to make sure we have a game number 3 in this exciting matchup. Both games going pretty fast here. Both players have pretty fast decks with the large threats. Once you can get one down and get it to stick, the game's going to be over one way or the other pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and see if we can find an exciting finish to this round 3 matchup. And here we go. We reached the rubber game here in round 3 at YETICON 3.0. Jeremy has the option to take the play here for the deciding game 3. Both players taking a look, and it looks like we are ready to go. Volcanic Island on Jeremy's side. Tim's on the draw and takes a look. So let's see who can stick the first big threat. No turn 1 elf for Tim. Let's see if Tim can get an elf in play for the mana acceleration. And the elf last game really did a lot of damage hanging around, as some 1/1s can do if you aren't able to deal with them without a 1-for-1 card trade, which doesn't feel as nice. Eventually, we did have to have the swords on the elf. There's an Ancestral Recall on Jeremy's side. He's got to be feeling good about chances in this match. Often the first player to resolve an Ancestral is able to gain an early advantage and maybe ride that advantage to the end. There's a Shivan Dragon in the graveyard on the side of Jeremy, so he may have an Animate Dead in hand, or maybe thinking about an animation play or reanimation play in the next turn or so. On Tim's side, we have a Mana Vault, so plenty of mana here. That Mana Vault is a great Yawgmoth demon target, but it also is a great way to power out a Mind Twist. So let's see if he hits the possible Animate Dead or animation card. There is the Animate Dead that Jeremy was likely reserving for the Shivan Dragon. I'm sure Tim had that one spotted, looking at a Shivan Dragon as your discard card. I'm sure he's sensed the shenanigans. There's an Initiates of the Ebon Hand. They can filter black mana for you. Looks like Tim untaps, and he's going to come in with the Initiates there. The Mana Vault is untapped, and there is the Triskelion. So leaving the Mana Vault open on the Triskelion, and there's a quick, it is a Divine Offering. So what Tim is doing here is he's doing a damage to the Triskelion to fizzle the Divine Offering to keep Jeremy from gaining the 6 life. I think that's what the players are talking about. So you can put 2 damage on a player, or whatever target, and then the last damage goes on the Triskelion, which fizzles the Disenchant, or the Divine Offering. So it's much better to do that. In the future, if you're playing Triskelion, that's the play that these players were talking about there. So Tim's still swinging in with the 1/1. So much like the Elf of Game 2, the Initiates are getting in for more than their fair share of damage in this one. There is the Death Ward. Death Ward works in this special rule a little bit differently than the regular Regenerate. If you play it as a sorcery, you can reanimate a card, and here comes the cool death counters that we all received at YETICON. It's a -0, -1 counter, and when in your upkeep, you remove a -0, -1 counter, and when you take off the last one, then the creature is exiled at the end. I believe it comes in with 2 death counters, so they are -0, -1 counters. There's a Dakin Blackblade on the side of Jeremy. So just to kind of wrap up the Triskelion there, it's got its 3 +1/+1 counters, but also 2 -0, -1 counters on it. So Tim is going to Swords Mr. Blackblade. One of the death counters comes off of the trike, and so he's swinging in for, it's still a 4 power, so it's a 4/3, I guess, right now at the moment, but it's not going to last very long with the death counters ticking down. Death Ward, you have to play that as a sorcery in order to get that effect. And so Tim now, it looks like, is going to use those to pop. Yep, he's going to use the counters before the Triskelion dies to the death counters to pop Jeremy. And here comes another Triskelion, so there is another 4/4, but counterspell coming in, and then Tim swinging in with the 1/1. And Jeremy says, go ahead. So Tim swinging in with the 1/1 again. More mana on Tim's side for the Soul Ring, and Jeremy looks like is flooding out at the moment, hoping for one of those big creatures. There is the Mox off the top. And Tim keeps coming in with those initiates. Tim probably would rather have a bigger threat than that as well. Probably wants a faster clock than a 10-turn counter, but Tim will take it at this point and just hope that Jeremy continues to flood out, and looks like he will be obliged. So he floods out again. That's another land draw. Both players have enough mana to do as much as they want to. If anyone can land a draw 7, we've got a very exciting new game here. All right, here is an Animate Dead target. There's that Shivan Dragon from much earlier in the game after the Ancestral Recall. So Shivan's going to come in, and there's a Disenchant for the Animate Dead, and that will put the Shivan right back in the graveyard. Tim happy to have an answer for that one, so we don't have another big flyer. And there is the Elf. So that is 3 for 3 on the Elves of Deep Shadow. There is a Mahamoti Jin 5/6 flyer, and then doing it the old-fashioned way, just hard cast. Tim has a quick Swords there, and that's going to give Jeremy 5 life in the exile of the Jin, and then he's going to come back in for 2 more. So Tim has the life going the wrong way at first, but now we're going to have life going the right way with a couple more. And the Psy Blast is after the Triskelion, or the Death Ward has resolved, so he's able to shoot the counters before he takes the damage from the Psy Blast. And so here is another attack for 2 from Tim. Down to 6 goes Jeremy. Tim's still at 20. And here's 2 more. Down to 4 goes Jeremy. He's not working with very much life. Here is an Earthquake. I believe it's just for 1. Yep, it is an Earthquake for 1. So Jeremy goes to 3, but it does clear off the 2 1/1s. So that's a fine answer for 1/1s. That's too late to use that to take out a Triskelion with his life total. There is a Hurkyl's Recall. All right, end step Hurkyl's Recall. That's going to bounce a bunch of artifacts back to Tim's hand, and he's going to have to discard. Looks like he discards the Workshop. Mana is not quite as relevant now. Here comes all that jewelry right back onto the field. Mox, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, and there is the Priest of Yawgmoth. Priest of Yawgmoth, you can sacrifice artifacts and have it add black mana for you. But more importantly, it looks like it can get in for some damage. And there is 1 damage coming your way, and there is a Swords. So Tim's going to go back up to 20. The Hurkyl's Recall, enough to at least take a card out of Tim's hand there, but he can play all that jewelry right back cheap. And a good time to play it when there's not a Triskelion on the board. Okay, both players looking to see who can get the next threat down. Tim tapping a Mana Vault and some black mana, and here comes the Yawgmoth Demon. There it is, 6/6 flying first strike. Yeah, that's a reader. 6/6 flying first strike, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sack an artifact to it, or else it becomes tapped, and does 2 to you. Doesn't matter, because it eats a quick counter spell on Jeremy's side. I do love the effort of trying to get the big threat on the field, because that would be game if Tim can stick one. There's a Factory, so Factory is counterspell proof. Let's see if Tim can get there. Nope, there is another Disenchant in hand. Jeremy's had a lot of removal for those. Let's see who can win this battle of attrition in Game 3. There is a Drain Life for the match, and boom, there it is. You see the camera shaking there as the players are cleaning up. Great job. Love that match. Congratulations, Tim, on the match win. Jeremy, awesome games. Great to see your match here today. That is the end of round 3 here at YETICON. We've got 3 rounds yet to go. If you like these videos, do give me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'll post it up on the Discord of the old school community so that y'all can see these. I appreciate the support, appreciate the comments, and leave some notes for the players. Let us know what you think. Love to see the spicy decks in play at YETICON here at the feature table. Love to see things like Personal Incarnation and Animate Dead and all that amazing stuff here for YETICON. I am going to sign off for now, and I'm going to see you here in round 4 of YETICON 3.0.